Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the 26th century, I'll be your co-host, Dave Trumbore. Joining me as always from his 57 Chevy, it's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, sir?
David, I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
I can't hear you over the rev of that engine.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom. As a 57 Chevy sounds in the 26th century. I'll tell you what, these cars are quite durable to last, 400 or 500 years? I can't even do the maths at this point.
In hindsight, I should have always been buying an older Cadillac.
ABC,
and
always buy
always
Cadillacs.
Buying Cadillacs. Should have been ABCing it up because, what's more important than the durability of American muscle in that sense? Because when you buy a car, the last thing you want to do is have to think to yourself like, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with all the maintenance for this. There's so much hassle, all the things. Look, I don't know how many people are going to attack and try to ambush my car. Yeah. I don't know how and when I'm going to be in a random desert and then in a jungle.
Or like a stampede of like things with horns or like things with sharp teeth that are 30 feet tall. You don't know.
That look like dinosaurs that we're all familiar with, but they're called other bullshit things.
Yeah.
It's,
bullshit things.
Tit for tat. Bullshit things.
This show is called Cadillacs and Bullshit Things. No, it did take some pausing of this episode, some research on our end to be like, what are you talking about? What are you crazy future people talking about?
There are a lot of new terms that get thrown out in this where they'll say something and to the credit of the writers, they were doing a great job with some world building things, dropping in some little tiny nuggets here, but there were so many nuggets. I mean, it was literally like ordering a 20-piece chicken nugget.
It's a lot of nuggets.
It's a lot of nuggets
up to
for anybody.
144. I think you can get a gross of nuggets.
Really?
Because they're gross.
That's
Ask our buddy Jason Woods. He knows about bulk nuggets.
Bulk nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
A former guest, Jason Woods.
Mm-hmm.
We will, it's interesting to see a show that has such a rich history and tapestry of different phrases and terminology. It has its own, ostensibly, it has its own lexicon.
Oh, definitely. It absolutely does, because we had to look it up.
And I really wish that at some point they would have been like, hey, we're going to fill you in on a little bit of backstory about what some of this Cadillacs and bullshit stuff pertains to, because otherwise you're sitting there just like, ooh, I got to wiki this. And I can imagine that in 93, there was no wiki for you to be able to pull out.
Real hard to wiki stuff.
It was just like
before the internet. Before the wiki.
You didn't read the comic books leading up to the premiere of this show, you were lost.
Super lost. And you didn't have the capacity to pause a thing unless you recorded it on a VHS tape. And then you sat there and you took notes and you probably made this wiki. So we want to thank you, possibly 40-year-old man who did this for us. So thank you very much.
You're the best.
We've got bullshit things like Cutter, Shivet, Mac, Sandbuck, Wahanchuk, Whiptail. They're just dinosaurs. Just call them dinosaurs.
Old blood mechanic.
Old blood mechanic and the Macchia. I can't even say it.
Oh, can you not?
I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't have it in front of Mac. What is it?
It's the Mackie Auto Vitae.
I heard it sounded like caramel macchiato to me, but what it actually sounds like was Macchinadio Vitae. Macchinadio Vitae. Macchinadio Vitae. Or Machinateo Vitae. It sounded like somebody introducing themselves on an NFL game. Like, I'm Macchinadio Vitae from South Florida Central University. I didn't know what the hell they were saying half the time.
I like macchiato with a tie.
Macchiato with a tie. We'll stick with that. Caramel macchiato with a tie. Yeah, grande. But the funny thing is, with all this other bullshit things going on, when somebody asks, hey, what is that machine you're driving around? Oh, it's a Cadillac. It's a Cadillac. Fuck you. Yeah, right. It's a Cadillac. Ugh. But yeah, we're talking Cadillacs and Dinosaurs tonight. Before we get too crazy about this, Sean, buddy, let's give the listeners out there some history of this show.
Oh boy! All right, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is an American-Canadian animated television series which aired on CBS Kids in the United States from 1993 to 94, lasting for one season of 13 episodes, based on the comic book of the same name by Mark Schultz, formerly titled Xenozoic Tales. The show was created by screenwriter Stephen E. D'Souza, who acquired the TV rights after producing the video game Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. The show dealt with many strong ecological and political issues that were central to the plot development. One major focus was the question of how the dinosaurs managed to reemerge after they were thought to be extinct.
Man, I wish we would've
how'd you figure that one out, D'Souza? How'd you sneak that little tricky fucker in there?
I wish we would have looked into that more because I didn't follow up on how this happened. So unfortunately tonight, we will not reveal that particular mystery because I watched 2.5 episodes about.
Okay.
But in order, I didn't get to all 13, unfortunately. And I'm happy to say that I had never seen these episodes before, but after watching the first one, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. I'd like to check out more of these. I wish I saw these as a kid. But what about you? Did you have a familiarity with these from actually growing up in this time?
You know, I knew that the video game existed, and I think that was the extent of my knowledge. I think it was a Super Nintendo game, maybe?
I'm not even sure.
But it was sort of one of those like side-scrolling, beat 'em ups, sort of like Golden Axe style,
cool.
or like Final Fight.
Did you get to play as a dinosaur at all?
No, I think
Really?
you played as one of the three main characters that we met in the show tonight.
Okay.
And so I don't
either
remember
like Gearhead, Tits a Poppin', or one of the other random characters?
or Guy from Lion King.
Guy from Lion King.
Guy
Okay.
with Lion King name.
Okay, fair enough. Did you play as Tits a Poppin'?
No, but we should probably.
We'll get into her.
We'll
get into that.
Whoa, phrasing.
We'll edit that out.
Yikes! No, we won't.
No, we won't.
So yeah, I did not play the game, but I believe that you could play as the female character Hannah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Does the name Stephen E. D'Souza, does that ring a bell for you at all?
I want to say, didn't he work on X-Men the Animated Series?
I didn't see that. He very well could have. Let me see if some of these movie properties or other shows ring a bell. How about 48 Hours and Another 48 Hours? Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Have you heard
absolutely.
of The Running Man?
Oh yeah, with Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger.
with Arnold. Have you heard of Die Hard and the sequel?
Oh, have I?
Yeah, so yeah, this guy's actually pretty prolific as far as TV and movies goes. But it's kind of cool that he had this cartoon to his name too, so definitely want to kind of keep an eye. His more recent efforts, you know, he did the Flintstones, he did, I think, Beverly Hills Cop 3, which a lot of people think is I think rightfully so, probably think is the weakest of that franchise. And there's some other things of late that are not as great, but I mean, he's turned in some real classic stuff. So it's just kind of a surprise to see somebody of that caliber actually focusing on, you know, mid-90s cartoon series too. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, and I think it's one of the great ideas about this is that having somebody who has that experience,
Right.
who's worked on those projects, that this was probably at the time that he was working on it, this was hopefully, fingers crossed, something that he really cared about. And I think a lot of that showed in the actual cartoon itself.
It seemed like it. There did seem to be like a real quality perspective from behind the scenes that kind of came through to the forefront, which we'll talk about as we go through the show. As for what it's actually about, so the series followed the exploits of Jack Tenrec and his crew of ecological freedom fighters known as the Mechanics, who square off against their opposition, which included the Council of Governors and Hammer Terhun's gang.
Oh boy.
That's about as simple as we can put it. There's basically a future time where Cadillacs are still around and dinosaurs exist. And there's a lot of weird kind of like clan tribal warfare that goes on. We'll talk about that more once we get into the plot. Before we do that, what do you think about this theme song tonight?
Oh man, we've had this the last couple of weeks with theme songs.
Yeah.
What was it? 2 weeks ago, we would have had Sky Commanders. Where we sort of got like a narrative of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Again, we have a cartoon again, which I think Sky Commanders was also 13 episodes. So maybe it's the 13 episode hallmark,
13 episode curse
of cartoons where you have a very, very narrative, plot driven, you have the exposition for your intro is crazy long because you have so much world building that you want to kind of get out of the way and you want to address and kind of live in that fun reality that you've created for yourself. And so I will say that this was a straight recycled introduction that we've seen. Most of the animation came from episode 1. Right. So it was really kind of fun and kind of weird also to watch sort of like a condensed version of the episode that I was about to watch.
The funny thing is that the rest of it that didn't come from 1 pretty much came from 2.
came from too.
Yeah.
So very, very Cliff Notes in that sense. But, you get an idea of the idea. You get a sense of the idea of what the stakes are, what has actually happened to the world, and sort of where you are in terms of our timeline. So, you get 26th century, forces of nature spiraled out of control, cities have crumbled, dinosaurs have reclaimed Earth? ? Also, why? But we're not going to address that. No worry. You get one man stands alone.
with
Jack Tenrak.
With all these people around him.
Yeah, right. With a swarm of people that won't seem to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Defending humanity in a world gone mad, where only the strong survive. And then you just get some of like the weirdest organ music in the background that just keeps like popping in and out. And I'm just like, what is going on here?
Do you remember the cartoon where there was actually a mad person playing an organ that was in like a cloud? There was a city. I'll give you a hint. There was a city zone that inside of this zone was kind of cloudy, and there was organ music, which once it cleared revealed an actual organ player. Do you remember the cartoon?
Was it Spiral Zone?
It was Spiral Zone, and that just made me laugh for no reason. Stupid organ player. But no, we didn't see an organ player in this one. We just heard their mad music.
I want to think that if they did pan to the side, it just would have been a dinosaur playing the organ.
That'd be great.
And I would have been like, oh, that's adorable.
It was just Hermes over there with his little talons.
his little allosaur talons.
Oh. I will say this, though, go ahead. What's the last thing you hear from this theme song? It's literally just the title, because the guy, he's like, a future world crumbling. Only the strong survive. A world of Cadillacs and dinosaurs. He delivers it so well, but it made me laugh every time I heard it. I will say this. This is a theme song that actually follows up on what the title is, and it promises you that there are Cadillacs and dinosaurs to come. So I will give it points for that.
Guess what? And it delivers in spades.
Oh, yeah.
This show is nothing but Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
So much of everything. So many dinosaurs.
So if you were looking to provide a critique and you were thinking to yourself, if you were judging a book by its cover and looking at this and just going, oh, this Cadillac and dinosaurs better have Cadillacs and dinosaurs. Oh, man, you are going to rate this a 10 out of 10, my friend. 10.
Or as we'll see in some of our user reviews, an 8 out of 10, which is also a 3.5 out of 5. But anyway, we'll get to that later.
I don't understand.
It doesn't matter.
Can I ask a really quick question? Sure. And this is I was thinking about this earlier, just in terms of personal interest. And so I think, so we've obviously identified that this show contains Cadillacs. This show contains Cadillacs and dinosaurs. Correct. So if you are not on board with both, or really sort of like, if you're interested in one and not the other, it's kind of hard for you to really kind of fit into this.
If you're like a Ford guy and like a Mastodon guy,
right?
Look up Fords and Mastodons. It's a much better series for you. Just for you. I'm saying.
Just Ford Fiestas and Raptors,
if you can find it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So the thing that was always interesting to me is that there have been shows that have come out that have had cars or like another subject matter that I haven't been interested in, but it's the way that it's presented that it's sort of tertiary to the main story itself, because you actually care about the things that are going on. And so I think that that's always what's interesting about a show and about who's writing for these shows. When I watch The League, I'm not a big professional football person myself.
Right, or like the fantasy league or anything behind that.
Right, yeah. And I've played in a couple fantasy leagues, and I've always just goofed around and tried to do it based on math.
Sure.
Like based on like probability and stuff like that. And so it's been one of those things that I've never really taken seriously, because my names are always goofy or mean-spirited towards other people that I'm playing with. Or my team name is mean-spirited. So like The League, that's a prime example. Fast and the Furious, guess what? I hate cars. I hate cars more than anything. But when I watch a Fast and the Furious movie, I suddenly love cars. In that 2-minute span, I have a newfound love for cars that is something that I never thought that I possessed in my life.
Because it's about family.
It's about family.
It's about family.
About family and a round pound a mound. And so, it's just...
Round pound a pound. I love that every installment of Fast and Furious, this is not factually accurate, but in my mind it is, ends with like barbecue. where even the dead people come back and join the picnic table. It's my favorite thing.
Oh God.
That happened
so
recently in an episode of something which I can't remember, but it was hilarious. I was like, oh fuck, did they just pull a Fast and Furious on this like CW drama? You did not. It was great.
Yeah, get your shit together, Flash. Stop fucking with the timeline.
It's about family.
It's about family. So, you know, with shows like that, it's always interesting because I'll be honest with you, coming into it, I was like, I don't know how they're gonna sell me on the whole car aspect of this, but you got me sold on the dinosaur.
Oh yeah, from the get go.
I'm on board.
Which honestly, like the balance of this was way heavy on the dinosaur, which is smart because it's 1993. Yeah. You've already had Dino Riders, Dino Saucers. You've had Denver the Dinosaur. You've had Jurassic Park come out this year.
Yeah.
I don't know the timing of this as far as the months go, but I mean, obviously a huge year for dinosaurs. So
and really, this show itself was sort of like, and I have to say, friend of the show, Melanie Harker, came up with this, so I want to give her credit. She was like, this show is really sort of like if you combined Mad Max and Jurassic Park. 100%. And I was like, yeah, that's a winning combo. What it is. That's a winning fucking combo.
That's like a great
DeSouza was just like, I'm gonna put these two things together. If they would have said Mad Max, if this would have been called Mad Max and Jurassic Park : Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, I would have been like, oh yeah, perfect. I'm totally 100% on board with this. Yeah. This sounds great.
Actually, like D'Souza, I mean, once Die Hard came out, there's the prophetic story that every script that followed that was like Die Hard meets fill in the blank. So everybody used Die Hard as a placeholder for just like it's an action movie that's contained, but it's got these kind of elements that we're looking for. Plus, we're adding this thing, so it would be like Die Hard and Dinosaurs or Die Hard and Cadillacs. So it's the same kind of thing where it's just like what's called a what's called a high concept approach, where it's just basically like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. That's it. That's all you need to know. Yeah. And then they fill it out and flesh it out as they go, which I thought that part was really cool. I actually really hate the name Cadillacs and Dinosaurs because it sounds stupid to me, and it actually takes away from how good the show actually is. But it's a good kind of catchy, hooky name. I just don't particularly like it.
Yeah, but I definitely don't think that, what was it, Xenozoic
Yeah,
Tales
which was the original comic.
Would have had the same ring to it.
No, so for me as like a sci-fi nerd and a nerdy kid anyway, that probably would have been cooler for me. I would have been like, oh, that's neat. I'm going to check that out. Xenozoic Tales. I would have pushed my glasses up as they slid down my nose, and I would have read the comics, and then they changed it to Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I would have been like, yeah, that's fine, I guess.
But to your point, in terms of fleshing out the rest of this world, let's quick run down some of these characters. We've talked about Jack Tenrick. Jack Tenrick.
Do you think he was named because he was born on a highway that had a crash pile up? There were 10 cars wrecked.
Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's 100% what I think happened. I don't know. I can't even. You know, it's like one of the easiest approachable white guy names.
Oh yeah.
With a last name that just was like, what does he do? Does he drive? Oh, I don't know. Maybe we could call him like Jack Wrench Arm, and they're like, I don't know. He doesn't really have a wrench arm though.
He doesn't have that, so that's false advertising.
They're like, how many times in this episode should he probably wreck his car?
I don't know, 8, 10.
Maybe like 9, 10, 10 wrecks.
10 wrecks is probably good.
Oh, got it. Just 10 wreck it.
Jack 10 wreck. Like, nailed it.
Just Jack 10 wreck.
Got it. Put that on the wall.
I think it's really challenging.
We don't have enough money for a marker board, so just write it on the wall. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. I think it's really challenging when the last name of your titular character for this, like of your title character, somebody who's supposed to carry this show, is you just playing like a word association game.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So I'm assuming that all these guys and names go back to the original comics. So I'm gonna put that on on Schultz, the comics writer. But I mean, Hannah Dundee. All right. Do you think she's because of the Crocodile Dundee fame at the 80s?
I mean, absolutely, 100%. So? Right. So this woman, let's say this, she knows how to dress in the wilderness.
Is she jungle ready? She 100%
knows how to dress.
Is she jungle ready?
I would go on a safari with
hell
Hannah
yeah,
Dundee.
I'd love to. But I mean, like, if a stiff breeze comes along, that handkerchief she's wearing for her shirt is gone.
I'm sorry, Dave. Did you happen to have a problem?
No, I don't have a problem at all. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would, though, watching it this day and age.
Confident woman wearing whatever she felt was best.
One button
she's
handkerchief.
Got a lot of. Yeah,
she's got a one button handkerchief. Is the style of that shirt she's wearing. Surrounded by primitives and dinosaurs.
Yeah.
She's not jungle ready.
Hannah Dundee plays a lot of fan service in this show. Yes. She is the sex appeal if you were not already drooling over the number of cars
and dinosaurs.
Yeah. Why do I feel like the more we talk about this, that this is somebody who was just like in middle school and high school, and as they were animating stuff, they were just like, you know what, I'm really good at drawing dinosaurs, and I'm really good at drawing cars. Oh, let me try drawing boobs. You know what? I'm great at drawing boobs.
Great at drawing boobs. They're like two perfect spheres. What's funny though, I mean, in all seriousness, the design of these characters is like a classic kind of 50s, the same era that the Cadillacs, you know, the main Cadillacs that you're thinking of originally came from. It's that same kind of 50s adventure, sci-fi, space exploration design. So everybody's kind of got that cool kind of look to it, that like cool adventurous look, a lot of khakis, a lot of like ready to go, and then obviously the kind of bosomy woman in like the very little clothing. So it fits with that aesthetic from the 50s and 60s.
If Race Bannon had showed up at any time, you would have been like, oh, this motherfucker fits right into this universe.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Welcome. Yeah.
Welcome to the future, Race Bannon.
Welcome to the
So those are those are your leads right there. You got Jack Tenrek, which we don't understand what he is really. He's what's called an old blood mechanic, which is like this weird tribal thing that we still didn't quite get into the real grit of. But we'll talk about that within the plot. That's just know that he's kind of like pro ecology, pro environment, pro balance between humans, machines, and dinosaurs. And he's your good guy. He's your adventurous good guy mechanic.
And for Hannah, she is a politician / scientist.
/ diplomat, yeah.
Yeah, / diplomat who is from Wassoon, which is, I guess, in terms of the geography for where they have this, she's somewhere in Jersey. So
probably. I wish she would have had like a Jersey accent.
Jersey girl.
Future Jersey accent.
Jersey girl.
In the future, all accents will sound exactly the same, which is a blessing.
Because at some point you find that like they're looking. She's looking over what look a small lake into an area that's then revealed to be New York City. Yeah. And so presumably a majority of this takes place in the Paramus, New Jersey area. Like
it's right on that tip.
Like the Hackensack, New Jersey area of the state.
Looking much better now.
Yeah, you know,
looking much better now underwater. We'll get into that in the plot because it's actually kind of cool how they reveal it, and they have these little name drops and stuff that they do that kind of put you in the area because it is a drastically different New York City and northern Jersey than you're used to now. Unless you've seen the movie Waterworld, then you have a good idea of what's going on.
Oddly enough, if you've ever spent any time in New Jersey, it's exactly what you think New Jersey would look like.
Yeah, exactly. Guys. And if you followed up from last week's episode, that's where all toys go to be destroyed. So remember that.
Yeah, right.
You can find toys to be destroyed in Jersey. All right, we've got a couple other kind of minor characters. There's the terribly named Mustafa Cairo.
Yep.
Also, pretty bad voice actor. I did not really enjoy him at all. Everybody else was great. He was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But he's just kind of like it's just kind of like an assistant. He's supposed to be an engineer, so he's supposed to help out with the mechanic stuff. He's just kind of like right-hand man.
Right.
Yeah. Who else we got?
Yeah, we also have a dinosaur character.
Let's save that for the plot because it's a cool reveal.
Oh my gosh.
That's the teaser. Right. Let's save that. Let's talk about some of these villains.
Guys. All right.
We really only have two that we need to talk about.
Right. So we have one of my favorites, Hammer Terhune.
What another name? What is a Terhune?
I have no idea. I'm assuming it's like a torpedo harpoon.
Ooh, I like it.
I don't care.
It doesn't mean anything, but yeah.
But he is just he's a poacher. He is the main villain that we have that's in this, and he is the yin to the yang for Jack because he does not care about the environment. He is here to poach dinosaurs. He is here to cause trouble. He really feels that we should be able to bulldoze whatever the fuck we want in the 26th century, and we should just be able to move our settlements wherever we want and push dinosaurs. We should essentially make dinosaurs extinct again.
Yeah, re-extinct those dinosaurs.
Yeah. As if they haven't already been through enough, guys. Who's our other villain?
Yeah, and she's pretty much lined up exactly with what Terhune wants to do. She's just a little more refined about the way she goes about it. Sort of. She makes a lot of really bold threats and promises that it's just like she goes from 0 to 100 on the villain scale, like immediately.
Yeah.
So she's one of 3 governors in what's called the City in the Sea. And that's kind of like the last remaining settlement that is kind of technologically advanced. They have a lot of the holdovers from the old way of life. They have some decent weapons. They have some decent fortresses. And they have enough wherewithal that they actually have a functioning sort of government, which includes 3 governors. The other 2 are kind of dum-dums. This one, Wilhelmina Skarnhorst, again with these names.
Oh, boy.
She's almost exactly like Terhune, just like the female component. She actually she's like really drawn, like butch looking. She's basically like a weapons dealer at the same time. She wants to, I'll talk about this when we talk about the second episode briefly, but she basically wants to kill everything that moves, kill everything that grows, and then just plow everything else under. And that includes like humans who get in her way, dinosaurs that get in her way, plants that happen to be in their way. She just wants to destroy everything. So this, between her and Tenrek, that conflict is where a lot of this ecological conversation really comes in. Whether it has to do with water conservation or has to do with the way you kind of herd and treat and domesticate animals, with how you treat plant life, whether you use pesticides or not, things like that. So very heavy on the ecological footprint here. I mean, not quite to Captain Planet standards where it's like completely built around that. There are like political machinations and some warfare that goes on between the tribes, but the main thing that drives the point are these ecological conflict.
Yeah.
You want to jump in?
And I mean, and just to like segue into like from the ecological to the actual, like, it's supporting the ecological portion of this is that we have all of these new dinosaurs, and none of it's really new. It's just, I don't know what happened in the 26th century.
No, we have no clue what happened for the next 400 or 500 years.
If we lost books or some shit like that, I don't know what happened where we lost knowledge and intellect at certain moments, but we've also decided that we are going to redefine what we call dinosaurs, because as if their names weren't confusing enough, we need to make it easier.
Sort of.
So we're going to refer to a couple things. So we mentioned already that there is a dinosaur that we're going to kind of talk about when we get into the actual show.
Well, let's say that all dinosaurs can be referred to as slithers.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah, and I guess that's really sort of ultimately all you need to know.
It's like slang.
Because they're going to throw a bunch of new terms at you, and it really does take a couple seconds. Like, you really do a double take when they say these things to just be like, wait, isn't that you're doing a thing.
You're just saying a thing that means another thing that you could have just said that first thing. Okay, I got it.
Fair.
Yeah. So we've only got really one major dinosaur name.
What, the Shivet?
Yeah, Shivet. There you go.
Yeah.
Pop Shivet. They call it a Shivet, and it's basically just a T-Rex. So, spoiler alert, Shivet's a T-Rex. That's all you need to know. For the second episode, we'll talk about that later. All right, you want to jump into this thing?
Let's get into it.
How are we introduced to anything that's going on right now? Because you don't even get the theme song first to tell you, like, here's the situation. And throw you right in the jungle.
You're introduced to a convoy that immediately comes under ambush.
And immediately they're flying a flag that looks like the Hydra from Marvel.
It's an octopus with 8 tentacles that are underneath it. And it's all black. And I read that was the first thing. I was like, Hail Hydra.
So Captain America's coming in.
Yeah. But these are people from Wassoon.
Well, so it's only the whole convoy is supposed to be from Wassoon or whatever it was called. Wassoon. And Hannah's in the front seat, but she's riding with Cairo, right?
Right.
Wasn't it Cairo?
And Chordis.
Yeah, which what is that name?
I don't know either.
Yeah, whatever. Tortoise.
Well, we can talk about Tortoise in a couple seconds, cool. Because it's a very interesting moment. But it's one of those things where you see that this convoy is on its way, and suddenly you sort of get like that glimpse of where you have these people who are kind of like waiting in ambush in the jungle.
Yeah. But even
like they're lying and waiting.
But even before that, you get this kind of little bit of exposition between the people that are riding in the first car, and they're basically talking about doing a diplomatic mission from Wasoon to the city in the sea so that they can kind of be allies together. So it's a diplomatic mission to get allies. And the one guy in the car says, well, I don't know what you're so worried about. They're friendly people who are trying to rebuild civilization, and they're survivors of the 21st century, just like us. And I'm like, thank you. Now I know what's going on here. That's wrong, but thank you for trying to explain something. Yikes. And then we get into the action. So go ahead, as you were saying.
Yeah, so we get introduced to Hammer right away, and also his two henchmen.
I think they're his brothers, too. He mentions it later on. I think they're his brothers, yeah.
I didn't know if it was sort of like a
gang thing.
In a camaraderie sense, where he was just like, come on, brothers.
No, they're his brothers because they have it listed. They have the same last name, yeah.
Okay.
So the three Terhuns are Hammer, Wrench,
and is it Vice? And Vice. So they are in the process of attacking this Wasoon convoy. They are destroying all their stuff that they have that's there. Do
you know what they're after?
I didn't really know.
It was like Mad Max style. They were after their gas and their tires. He says at one point, gas and tires can fetch a good price on the whatever market. Yeah.
See, because what I heard him say was there's a lot of gas, or he goes, there's a lot of gas in those tires.
And I'm tired.
And I was like, what? What are they?
Nah, he's basically just going to kill everybody and then take the gas and tires, sell it. If you couldn't tell already, he's a bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this moment, Hannah gets they jump out of and they abandon their vehicle that they're in as they're kind of getting boxed in. Chortis has this line, and I want everybody to pay very clear attention to this, because Chortis is just like, you should go, Hannah, and she's like, oh no, you're injured, like I can't leave you here, and he's like, I'll be fine, and Hannah's like, well, peace.
All right, I gave you an option.
She's like, I'm gonna try to lead them away from you. And that's the last time that we ever hear from Chortis.
Farewell, Chortis, never to be seen again.
She embarks on this mission where it's never like she makes a promise like, hey, I'm going to come back and rescue you.
She don't know this guy.
She doesn't know this guy. Whatever. So she bounces out of there and just presumably leaves Chortis to die.
To his death in the middle of the jungle in hostile territory.
All right.
Whatever. She's got a one-button handkerchief. She's good to go.
Oh, man.
We should mention that the bad guys have their hands on sort of a futuristic gun. Just to sort of mention it, because there's a weird kind of interplay of technology here where it's like there's Cadillacs that are souped up with like rockets, sort of, and like weird add-ons. But then there's other like futuristic guns as well. But at the same time, they're struggling to like grow crops and farm livestock, so it's a weird combination of stuff.
And just settle in general. Just settle. Yeah. But yeah, that's all we're really given before we jump right into this theme song.
But then after the theme song is when we get to our buddy Jack Tenrek.
Oh man, Jack Tenrek, what's he doing,
He's got
Dave?
a sweet introduction because he's just cruising in that Cadillac across the open plains of wherever the fuck in the future time.
Really? Just cruising?
Cruising.
No problems?
No problem.
Clawhoon. I bet there's a problem.
Clawhoon. Is it Clawhoon? Is it Quahoon?
I heard Clawhoon.
I heard Quahoon. Like quinoa, but in reverse. Quahoon. It's the opposite of quinoa. So he spies smoke like in the distant horizon. He just yells Quahoon. I was like, does that mean Quahoon's on fire? Is it a place? Is it a person? What's happening? So he just guns it and finds we don't know what on fire. We just see a shitload of flames and then people that are like having a real piss poor water brigade where they're just kind of passing a bucket but not actually trying to do anything, just passing a bucket down. So you'd think like, okay, cool. This guy's shown up. He's our hero. As soon as he shows up, he's going to help put this fire out and everything's going to be gravy. Right? Yeah. That's what you expected, yeah?
Presumably, you would think so.
Yeah, not exactly what happens.
Does not happen.
What would if this guy showed up, what would be your first instinct?
to accuse him of having caused this fire, even though he had just arrived.
And then tackle him across the hood of his Cadillac.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd be blaming him left and right. Yeah. I would be telling him that it's his fault that the giant Shivet came down and tapped.
Would you be spitting out a bunch of nonsense words that don't mean anything to people who don't live in this world?
Yep.
Yeah, neat.
No fucking clue.
So you yell about the Shivet, you tell him that his caramel macchiato is crap, and he's tired of this nonsense.
Yeah, people are really, so they do this, as we mentioned, this Machinatio Vitae is also, they call this the machinery of
life. Which we'll call it from now on.
And so,
please.
Which is now what,
please.
Because I'm not calling it anything else. And so they really, they really kind of, Jack is I sort of got maybe like, I don't know if this is accurate or if you felt this way, but I sort of got like a little bit of like a maybe Native American ties.
Yeah, and there's something that happens later where it harkens to that a little bit. So it seems like there's some sort of natural, almost tribal. You remind me of Marshall Bravestar a little bit at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's kind of a tribal teaching or something that goes on here. Yeah,
correct. And so he's really trying to educate and tell people that look, these monsters, this Shivet, this Tyrannosaurus, for all intents and purposes,
T-Rex.
this Tyrannosaurus Rex, like all these creatures are we are as scared. They are as scared of us as we are as scared of them, and so we have nothing to fear.
To fear but fear itself.
Yeah,
he read something
for some reason,
somewhere.
This Shivet has attacked them, and so has pretty much destroyed their village.
Oh, yeah. Which, when they said Shivet at first, I was like, because there's nothing but fire behind them. So I was like, are there dragons? What's happening? What is a Shivet? Why is everything on fire? But yeah, just T-Rex.
But everything is on fire because we immediately then get introduced to Skarnhorst and Hammer Terhune.
Man, this scene for Hammer was fantastic. Oh. Do you remember his setting?
So he's like sitting on top of a giant throne, like a Game of Thrones style throne,
with like a Triceratops skull, I think it was, or was a T-Rex skull over top of his
I thought it was a Triceratops. Yeah,
he loves that Triceratops because he's also got one on his trike bike, mounted with a Triceratops skull in the front of it. Yeah.
So he is just he is holding court, and he is entertaining Skarnhorst. And telling her,
we don't know at this point. Like, she just shows up. Right. She looks like she's outfitted for like a safari, like an outback ride, and she's got a couple of armed guards with her. We have no clue who this. We don't even know it's a woman, to be honest with you.
Right, but you're given the sense that she is sort of the brains, or like the financier behind a lot of the things that Hammer is. A lot of his plans. She's the puppet master pulling the strings behind this Joker, and so he's just the hired muscle who's just going out and busting stuff up.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's just poaching and stuff on the way and getting... They kept saying like things like tusks and ivory, which just was weird to me. I never thought of like ivory from dinosaurs, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. But I love the fact that he's just juggling a hand grenade at this point.
Yeah.
Just juggling a hand grenade.
I feel like this sort of goes back to some of our older questions that we had from Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines. Like, God, if I only had a hand grenade.
The one time I don't have a hand grenade.
Like, what? Ridiculous. This guy has hand grenades out the wazoo. Unnecessary amounts of hand grenades.
Here's a question. Bigfoot and the Muscle Machine. What the hell was that guy's name? What was the main guy's name?
Was it Hank?
Hank Bullwhip. I can't remember his name. Something like that.
Oh, boy.
Who is he an ancestor of? Is it Jack Tenrec, or is it Hammer Terhune, or is it both?
Ooh, I'm gonna say both.
Because he's the Genghis Khan of 26th century.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's the OG of this entire.
Yeah, we have him to blame. His hand grenade fetish trickled down for 500 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so he's got we find later he's got a whole crate full of hand grenades, so that's fun. But yeah, this whole thing is basically to set up the fact that they're not only in cahoots. The governor is giving Hammer and his crew this technology so they can actually go ahead with the plan. And part of the plan, it's kind of hinted at this point that they have devices that they are putting on this Shivet to kind of control him and to lead him into these settlements so he can wreak havoc. Because the governor has this kind of political machination where if she can sow enough discord, she can make everybody stop trusting in Jack, and then turn to her for support. So she's trying to undermine Jack Tenrak's support within the settlement by pretty much murdering as many people as she possibly can.
Yeah.
Great plan. Political leadership. Great plan.
And as all of this is sort of being like laid out very loosely for you, Hammer is like, Hammer learns that the Shivet is no longer fucking up these villages the way that that this woman wants. So he's like, all right, well, gotta go, and just runs, jumps out on his trike, calls to his brothers, and then they just roll out of camp.
Which is pretty great. I like the fact that he doesn't really care about any of the political stuff going on. He just basically wants to kill Jack Tenrak. And that's about it.
He's just crazy.
Yeah, he's not.
I love it.
Not. So now we come back to Hannah, and here's where what you kind of teased earlier on. This is her scene of discovery, which kind of gives us a firmer setting in this far-flung future.
So we've gotten to this point where like we understand that like there is some technology that still exists,
right.
And so she has binoculars and she's spying across, looking at the city on the city of the sea.
Yeah.
And she is looking at one of the buildings, questioning out loud to herself whether or not they have some technology, whether they have some resources. And then she begins to sound out the words, New York Public Library. Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. We kind of know where we are right now.
Yeah, got a good idea.
Yeah.
So like the city in the sea, basically like the New York City proper has, the water has risen quite significantly around it. So it's kind of just like downtown would be a harbor at that point. So the harbor district is well underwater. The rest of it is just like kind of flooded. And the harbor kind of goes like right up to the doorsteps of the public library. I couldn't tell if that was the headquarters for the governors or not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
because
either.
They don't really, they don't really transition it well. But basically we're like, okay, we're in New York. Got it. So now we have an idea where we're at. So as she's kind of scoping this stuff out, she gets spooked.
She gets spooked by what looks like a little raptor. It
looks like a raptor, yeah.
Spooked by a little raptor, and then she jumps out of her way, kind of pulls out her crossbow. She's ready to go, and she realizes that it's a little small cute guy.
Yeah, it's just a little cute guy.
In the distance, she hears an engine, a rumbling, barreling towards her.
So she's got the cute guy, and he takes off, but then a Shivet wanders through, and it goes right past her. And it's kind of roaring and it's headed towards the city. And then all of a sudden it kind of like stoops and scratches its head on something. And as it turns...
it's sort of like a bear scratching its back against a tree.
And then it shits in the woods, which was really weird that it did that on a kid's cartoon. But
very bizarre.
Yeah, it's real strange.
A lot of poop.
Good decision. But then as it turned, you see this like radio device looking thing on its back. So you can tell that like, okay, something's going on here. And then she hears a roar come from the forest.
Right. And so she doesn't even care. She just shoots first, and she's gonna ask questions later. Because she shoots a Cadillac in the tire.
I mean, that's what I do on Saturdays.
Cadillac basically just goes and lands on its side.
It just completely flips. So that's one of 10 wrecks in this episode.
Yeah.
She shot right through those white walls too, man. I can't imagine white walls lasting 500 years, but
God,
not that one.
I grew up. I learned how to drive on a car that had white walls, and like it was everybody. Like when you're learning to park and do parallel parking and everything, like you're gonna scratch some white walls. People would just complain like, my parents would just be like, you gotta watch those white walls. I'm like, why
don't put this extra pressure on me? There's no reason to do this.
Yeah, look, I'm learning how to drive.
Just go buy some curb feelers. In the 1960s.
Look, this isn't gonna be a damn problem whenever I'm driving through, northern Jersey, fending off dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. Your turbo prop in the back.
Yeah.
So this is the meet cute between Jack and Hannah. Right. So Jack is pretty much just crashed. You think he'd be a little more upset about his Cadillac being ruined, but he's like, well, I'll just push it over because I'm a super strong manly type guy, old blood mechanic, and then I'll just swap the tire out and we'll be good to go.
Right. Yeah. So this is where I had some problems with some things.
Let's talk about things.
Okay. So the car's on its side, and he pushes it over.
Wait, I have a question for you real quick. Did he pass out first, or does he pass out later? Because there's a certain frog wizard we need to talk about.
So there are a number of things. So one, I have problems with him as he passes out and then wakes back up and then pushes over the car. But before he pushes over the car, he has sort of this Vision Quest dream where this creepy frog dinosaur pops up.
It's a frog wizard, I think, is frog wizard.
Now, Jack has already said to the village that was on fire that he actually did not put out that fire, which presumably
it burns
still
to the
burns
ground
to this day.
Everybody died.
He told them that this Shivet, if there is a problem, that he will end the problem, implying that he would kill the Shivet.
Which you can kind of figure goes against his belief, his teaching. Yeah.
Right. And so this frog wizard shows up and is just like, yo, Jack, there's always a better way. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And Frog's like, no, dude, there's always a better way.
Yeah, bro, your blood calls. Like, wake up and like find like a better way, bro.
So so he wakes up.
Frog wizard's gone.
Pushes a car over. Doesn't seem upset. If I get in the slightest accident, I'm pissed off. Like,
if I get a ding in my 17-year-old Jeep that's beat to hell, I get pissed. If I had to flip a 550-year-old Cadillac that's just been shot through my white walls with a crossbow by some tits-a-poppin' in the jungle, I'd be a little more upset than this guy. Especially because your suspension shot to hell once you throw it over like this. But
so this is the big part that I had a problem with. All right. And I want you to keep in mind that I'm saying this all lovingly, knowing full well that this is a cartoon. And so you get out there, and so he just goes, hey, can you get the tire from the trunk? And her immediate reaction for Hannah is, huh?
What's
and he's like, the storage compartment in the back. And she's like, oh, okay. Lady, you were in a car when you got ambushed.
Yeah, she was in like a convoy truck, I guess, which wasn't a Cadillac. But like she seems confused about what the car is in general. It was a weird choice to be like, let's have this political diplomat scientist not know what the fuck a trunk is. It's a very weird choice.
She's confused about what a car is in general, about what's going on there. Yes. She's confused about why the tire has to be changed. She's confused about why the tire is in the trunk. She doesn't really know what a trunk is. All right, and then moments later, we find out that she's confused about radios
and doors.
Radios in cars.
And doors. Did you notice that she didn't open the door to get in the car? She just jumped over it, which I thought was much cooler than the way Jack did it. Yeah.
As like a diplomat scientist, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, she even says at one point, she's like, oh, radio. We're trying to broadcast radio stuff. And I'm just like, how the fuck did you not know what a radio looks like?
She knows radio. She doesn't know trunk. And now she knows about macchiato vitae because he lays it on thick. Because she thinks that he's a poacher and he's out to get her. She thinks he's one of the guys that was blowing up their spot earlier. But he's like, no, I'm an old blood mechanic. We go way back as enemies against those poacher types. I'm like, oh, that explains nothing. But okay.
Cool.
Neat story, pal. So, of course, get in the car with him and ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, they become fast friends.
Fast friends.
Even after she lies, because she says that she's a politician, and then 20 seconds later, she's like, well, actually, I'm not really a politician. I'm a scientist. And he's like, I like those even less.
I hate scientists even more than I hate politicians.
And you're just like, oh, okay, why did you feel the need to lie about, like, oh, all right, whatever. There were some interesting choices that happened in this, like, 2-minute scene that seemed to just sort of, I don't know how it would establish or build trust between the two of them, but they were immediately just like, let's get to stuff.
They were like, there's not a lot of people around. We're both real hot, so let's just see where this goes. I do like that they had some really cool transitions between the scenes, that they changed kind of like the ratio of the scenes. They would either kind of switch one down or letterbox it. Yeah, and then it was almost like you were reading panels of a comic book. So that was a really cool transition and scene change from one thing to the next. And they really focused on like wide range shots and then focused on close-ups too. It was really cool.
And they did it in a fun way to kind of like emphasize action or like that something was actually going to transpire. And so that was really fun. I noticed that a lot. There were 2 seconds where I seriously thought that how I was watching this on YouTube on an iPad, I was like, oh crap, is my iPad?
Yeah. It wasn't the best execution, but it was a really cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
All right, cool. So we got hot bodies and they're headed back to where is he from again? What is his town called? I just know that he goes back to his garage, which is essentially a castle.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I didn't really think it was a town. It didn't seem like he was a very social person.
No, definitely not.
You know, he's got his other wrench engineer buddy, Mustafa, that's in there. But who else do we quickly discover is inside of this fortress?
Well, so they're inside this fortress, and Jack is just kind of like taking his time and looking over some plans, and this door opens behind him, and this dinosaur walks in that looks like a small T-Rex, and it comes in and it looks like it's just going to take like a chunk out of him. So of course Hannah freaks out, but then as dinosaurs do, it just gives him a hug, like a bear hug from behind.
Yeah,
but that was different.
Mustafa explains that this is Hermes. And that Jack found him after his mother had died from poachers, and he had raised Hermes, and so now Hermes is a friend. And also the best security measures that they have around the entire base.
I love that Hermes is just clunking down the steps as he's giving this story. That he's just like ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. In like 3 steps, he clears about a flight of stairs. That was pretty funny.
Jeez.
But he's a baby Allosaurus, still a meat eater, still has a collar on for some reason. Yeah.
He just likes jewelry.
He does. He's a very stylish Allosaurus.
Yeah.
So at this point, they're basically trying to say like, okay, Jack's got shit to deal with. He wants to get Tits a Poppin' out to City in the Sea to finish up her deal. So he's like, all right, some guy's coming in. Kurgo the cargo is coming in with his ferry. He can take you into the city. And she looks in the window. She's like, oh, is that smoke from his ferry? Is he here? And he's like, smoke. So of course they look out and another city is on fire. And this time they actually see the Shivet. And now Jack's like, all right, I got to take this thing down.
I love that he goes into his ammo room and he's like, can't believe I'm going to have to do something that I promised I would never do.
I promised a frog wizard I would never do it.
And he gets out a box that just says like tranquilizers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, is he just going to start like popping ketamine?
Is he just going to right in the veins?
Just doing dino tranks like left and right. Tranks. But it turns out that it is, once he arrives at the village.
And he doesn't want an audience, so he leaves the other ones behind.
So he arrives in the village, gets set up in a tree, and he puts he puts a lethal dose.
And how do we know it's a lethal
into
dose?
His gun, because he says it's a lethal dose, and it says lethal dose on the side of the cartridge.
Oh, because he says it out loud to no one. I got it. I got it. Neat. And meanwhile, we should say that the other governors are back in their place, and they're like, oh man, they're receiving an urgent message from the the village that's on fire. They're receiving like the ticker tape of like what do you call it? What was the old telegraph?
It was like a telegraph.
The old telegraph machine.
Yeah, it was. It was like ticker. It was the just
they're
the
just
ticker
pulling
tape
it out.
that came
She's just
out
reading it as it's going. Like, oh God, the humanity. Oh God, we're all on fire. Oh God.
they say send help,
they said send help, and then got bitten in half by a dinosaur.
Yeah, right.
But they're basically saying like our pact with Jack is no longer viable. So they turned to the other governor, who's like, let's just burn all this shit to the ground. Let's go. So now back to Jack.
And so, it's interesting to see that like, and we should say that City on the Sea has had expansion plans, and that this is their target. Like what they want to do is they want to begin to repopulate and resettle a lot of this land, and not just keep themselves, constricted to, what probably like Manhattan Island.
Plus they don't have actual like arable land. They just have seawater and concrete. So
right. And so, like, they've had these plans. They put a lot of investment in Jack Tenrec. Right. And so to have that trust seemingly all of a sudden be soured is a big deal for them. So they're taking all precautions to be able to rectify, fix the situation, which they're politicians. So that boils down to just a heated discussion that goes nowhere. So, but... Back to the action,
Jack.
to the man who's getting shit done, who's GSDing all over the place. All right, yeah, that's right. He's got this Shivet in his sights.
Yeah, and he's definitely not having any more frog wizard visions, is he?
He's having frog
wizard vision.
That frog wizard is. I want to know all about him.
I think we find out more
because I'm very curious.
The second, I think he's what's called a grith, which is a race of lizard-like humanoids or human-like lizardoids that is sort of introduced in the next or third episode. Yeah, called
either
griths.
or. I'm on board.
Yeah, they look like slee stacks from Lost World.
I don't think they did not look like Sleestaks to me, because they looked like because Sleestaks were much bigger and like gankier.
Yeah, these are small, just like humanoids with like scale. So maybe like the lizard people from V, the original V.
Okay,
they're just lizard people. Just lizard people.
Yeah. So,
call them grits.
So Lizard Wizard.
Nice. Why did I keep going with Frog Wizard? The fuck's wrong with me?
Dude, I don't know. So Lizard Wizard.
Thanks, buddy.
Lizard Wizard is out of his gizzard, just telling him that there is a better way, then he needs to figure out how to do this. And so he gets up there and he posts up getting ready to take the shot, gets the Shivet in his sight. He looks straight on in the back of this thing, which I don't know how anybody could miss this or how this is a glaring omission for everybody. But there's like a giant radio box that's like
huge,
stapled into the back of this Shivet.
It had to be like a nod back to Dino Riders or something. It was like a precursor to that. Yeah.
So he immediately gets startled and is just like, what is that? And like makes a bunch of noise. Shivet gets triggered. So what does he do? He doesn't take the shot. He doesn't decide to shoot the radio box in the back of it. He just decides to throw the gun that he has.
Throw this massive gun.
And throw this giant bazooka that shoots a single tranquilizer dart with a lethal dose. I'm just going to throw it out of the tree because I've decided that this is now going to become the rodeo portion of the show.
It's Dino Rodeo time, y'all.
Dino Rodeo, y'all. So he jumps on the back of this guy.
He does this a lot, by the way.
Yeah, does
like
he?
Every episode.
He seems like the guy who would just be jumping on backs of dinosaurs left and right, willy-nilly, just pulling radio control boxes off of the back of their necks. It was
actually pretty gross when he pulled that thing out. It was like in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like tied on. It was really, like stabbed in.
No, it was in there. Like it was embedded.
Out,
yeah. So he pulls this thing off.
And then problem solved, right?
And oh man, this was a cool moment because we have this Shivet, we have this T-Rex, like king of the dinosaurs, who's looking mean AF and just begins to just start to head down towards Jack. And Jack, they do like a take. It's like Jack to the Shivet, Jack to the control panel that's laying next to him, Jack to the Shivet, elbow to the control panel. And then they're just kind of staring at each other, and the Shivet comes down, sniffs him like it's a dog, and then is like, my business is done here. And then just walks away.
He's like, oh, that's one of them old blood mechanics.
Yeah. One of them old blood mechanics.
I think it was nice because it showed kind of like the the lion with the thorn in its paw kind of thing, where it's like Jack destroyed the source of its frustration, and then he was like, all right, we're good.
Good use of a parable.
Yeah.
Way to go.
This is an allegory from the Bible.
So they figured this out, and it's all resolved. But that would be it, right? Like he would be able to take the device that he smashed, and presumably, so Wrench and Vice are controlling the device nearby.
Right. Because Hannah, she's scientist, says like this is like a short wave thing, so they have to be, if they're using this, they have to be somewhere close.
Right. So then everybody gets into their own tussle.
Yeah. It's the only reason that Cairo exists, to fight one of the other guys. Yeah.
Yeah, God. So tell me a little bit about, Dave, this final fight that we have between Jack and Hammer, because this is fucking great.
It was kind of weird. So like real quick, the other one. So Hannah squares off against one of the other brothers, and they have this stupid exchange of dumb lines. And then Cairo just tackles the other brother. I don't even know if they said anything to each other, but it was also dumb.
Just a lot of punching.
So Hammer is a lot bigger than Jack, but Jack has a lot more kind of like finesse, and he's got more kind of like martial arts moves, and Hammer's kind of just like a brute force kind of guy. But at one point, so Jack looks like he's going to win the fight, kind of knocks Hammer down, but then Hammer tosses a grenade under Jack, and they both kind of like dive to safety, but apparently Jack just decides to stop and look at it for a second before diving, so he's kind of knocked a little loopy, and it gives Hammer the opportunity to stand above him with what looks like a pressure cooker at the end of a grabber stick.
Yeah, dude.
What's that thing?
Insane. I don't know.
Was it supposed to be like a metal detector?
I thought it looked like maybe like a weird axe or like a mace.
It looked like you took a pressure cooker and just taped it onto the end of a golf club or something. I don't know what that was, but it's something that could have smashed.
That's a high level crafting that you have to get to.
Right.
in order to put together a Hamilton Beach product on the end of a baseball bat.
Correct. So he could have just smashed Jack in the face, but Jack decides to have this like monologue, eyes closed, laying on the ground, to just say like, well, you might get me, Hammer, but that shivit's still out there, and that shivit's got your scent. And then he goes through this whole thing. He's like, you know the shivet, the one with foot-long teeth and razor-sharp fangs and like all kinds of stuff. And he's really like selling the story. He's going ham for those.
And Hammer is sweating.
He's sweating. He's looking around. Stuff starts moving in the grass, and he hears like growls and roars. And Jack's, I don't remember his exact words, but he's basically just like, you know, you might get me, but that shivit's gonna get you sooner or later. And my bet, as it's like growling in the grass, he's like, my bet it'll be sooner. Go ahead.
Dude, I keep thinking of this. I'm like, you have a box of what Yank Justice would call problem solvers.
Yank Justice, nicely done.
You have a box of Yank Justice problem solvers over there that you could throw like grenades. You got a box of grenades that you could throw at any fucking point in time, and you just choose to not use them now.
He was scared. He's a scaredy cat. I think it's the.
I feel like anytime I'd be scared, if I had a grenade, it could solve how scared I was.
If you were Yank Justice, not one of his weak water descendants. Death in blood.
Oh,
but I think it was kind of nice because it was a little Deus Ex Machina at that point. But I liked it because it hinted that Hammer kind of needs Jack around to have any kind of purpose as far as the villain goes. But it also showed that he was kind of like not willing to finish him off and use that as kind of an excuse to skedaddle. Because it turns out it wasn't actually the shivet. It was just Hannah and Cairo in the car, apparently making dinosaur noises? Question mark?
Yeah. It's also interesting to see just sort of the psychological intimidation aspect of this, because as we've identified with Jack, is that these dinosaurs are scared of us in the same way that we're scared of them. And so some people, I guess, don't understand that. Maybe in the 26th century, that's a thing that has been a newly discovered skill and then promptly lost and forgotten. True. So who knows? But it's an interesting way to kind of show the dominance that Jack has over an opponent by saying like, by saying like, I'm gonna fuck with your head. Oh. Like, didn't you see that shivet just sniff me like a golden retriever, and then it backed the fuck off? Like, it's not gonna do the same for you. You're in big trouble.
Big trouble, buddy.
Big trouble.
I will say this: Jack's also pretty sweet with the one-liners here. When all three of them start fighting each other,
oh god,
he's got a great quote. It's they mess with the machinery of life, Hammer, and I guess they got caught in the gears. It's like his one like badass line that he gets to say. Everything else is pretty much like hippy dippy stuff. Okay, so you'd think,
but that would be it. Right, like we'd be done.
You beat the villain. You survive the confrontation with the shivet. You have the physical evidence in front of you that ties Scharnhurst to Scheinhart Wig Corporation to Hammer Terhune, and evidence as to why the shivet was laying waste to the countryside. So do you think you should bring it to the other two governors who have political power, or should you bring it to the one who is the villain and hand it to her?
Well, you know, Dave, when you bring up questions like this, it really all comes down to grip strength.
Yeah, man. Oof.
Like, who has...
This lady has given some tugs.
Grip. Oh, Jesus
She's given the tug.
Tug of death from the way.
Like
so they go to Scheinhurst Wig Corporation and I almost said Yank, and it's not Yank Justice. It's not Yank Justice
great,
in the future.
Great. Yeah.
Jack throws this control module that they've been using to control the shivet, and it's just like, I'm onto your game. I'm gonna go show.
He already smashed it with his elbow, so it's already like half smashed.
No. This was the device that they were using to control it. That wrench and vice had. Right. All right. The other piece that was in the back of the shivet has been destroyed because of a sweet elbow drop.
Was a sweet elbow drop.
That happened in a prone position, and so now they're in this point where they're just like, we've got this one piece of tech that's been salvaged, and we know it came from you, Scheinhart Wig Corporation.
Name on it.
And so we're gonna figure this shit out. And she's just like, and she's holding the piece of evidence
because he handed it to her.
Yeah, he throws it at her. He throws her the evidence. You know what? Case dismissed.
Yeah, mistrial denied.
Case dismissed. I'm getting rid of this whole kangaroo court right now. This is crazy. So in this moment, she just holds the device and just smashes it. And it just goes, what evidence? And you're like, all right, well, touche.
Yeah, nicely done. Did not know that you were, arm wrestling champion of 26th century. It was pretty great. Real stupid to hand her the evidence, and then she just crashed it into oblivion. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I did not realize that she was an extra in the Stallone movie
Over the Top. Yeah, she was the third place winner.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much where we end. Then they kind of boat off into the sunset for another adventure another day.
Yeah, it was sort of an angry fist to the sky of kind of like, I'll get you.
Che Guevara of Dinosaurs and Cadillacs.
Yeah, right.
The second episode, it was called Dino Drive, and it featured what are called Macs, which are basically just Triceratops, and it was kind of all about them trying to control a stampede, which was pretty cool. It introduced the Griths a little bit, so the Lizard Wizard, and then the third episode was actually called Lizard Wizard Blizzard, which I should have put it all together.
Shut up.
That's what it was. No, I stopped.
Lizard Wizard Blizzard?
I stopped watching it at 3, so I have no idea what it was.
Okay.
But it could be a blizzard.
Playing with my heart.
You know who else is playing with our heart? Some other listeners out there who gave some reviews on IMDb.
Let's get into
like this first one.
Okay.
What you got?
All right, so this first one comes from Ryan on the Hill from Canada. This is in December of 2010. He says, "Too good to pass up. This show is way ahead of its time. Not only does it forward the message of environmental consciousness, but it has strong stories with great characters that has been typically unseen in other cartoons at this time." Has it, buddy? Has it? We've had a lot of dinosaur shit in the 90s. The whole concept of island settlements reminds the viewer of ABC's Lost and how many zombie movies are situated in post-apocalyptic worlds. Granted, one villain's name is Hammer, but that probably a consequence of the year in which it was created rather than poor writing.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
I have no idea. What did Tools come out? Were Tools invented
was
in 1993?
MC Hammer a villain at the time?
Holy shit. Well, with his checkbook he was. A show in which Cadillacs meets dinosaurs. How could anyone resist? 13 episodes does not do this show justice. The main character, Jack, was some kind of anthropologist, environmentalist, weightlifter, mechanic. It was fun to watch and reminds me of why I loved cartoons in the early 90s. A DVD release is a must for this show. Triple hashtag.
Well, the triple hashtag was mine, but we'll keep that in there anyway. Triple hashtag. While Sean's recovering, we've got another review from Hellraiser7 from United States. This review called Dino Apocalypse, and God, I wish you could read this because every other word is spelled wrong. I'm going to do my best to get through it. It's either a 9 out of 10 or a 3.5 out of possibly 5 stars. I've edited this one heavily down, so it's going to take me a bit to get through it, but it is like a tenth as long as it used to be. Here we go. Dinosaurs we've always had a fascination with. We always wonder what they really when they existed. We may never really know since we were around. We good so far?
We're good.
But what would happen if we had that chance to coexist? This is another under-the-radar gem that I really like. The show, of course, is based on a graphic novel miniseries, Xenozoic Tales, which makes this a comic book adaptation show, and I personally feel it's one of the best. I like both the protagonists, Jack and Hannah. Both have their strengths or weaknesses. Jack Tenrick is cool, he's a gearhead, he cares about both nature and the people living in it. Just as he fixes his cars, he is constantly trying to fix the world around him to keep things fair. Hannah Dundee is also great, hot, with the persona to boot. She's smart, can hold her own against danger, does care, ambitious, has a lot of fire and energy to her. I would love a revival to this series, or better yet, make either a live-action TV show or movies. Make it more for an older audience, give it a more darker edge, as well as more vehicular action. With the effects and technology we have now, I see no reason why this can't happen. Like a well-audio-mated Cadillac, it's worth a drive. Rating, 3.5 stars.
Holy
9
shit.
out of 10, 3.5, whatever you want. I forgot to mention earlier that, did you happen to see the license plate of Jack's Cadillac?
I did not.
It basically says Xenozoic. It's like Xenozoic. So it says Xenozoic, which is the name of the comic book. So I thought that was kind of cool. Cool. All right. Our reviewers here are smoking the dope, so I don't know what they're about. But what about you, buddy? Do you recommend Cadillacs and Dinosaurs? And if not, do you give it the dip, which erases it from existence?
I'd recommend this. I'm hesitant, but I'd recommend it. I'd recommend at least checking out I'd recommend checking out the first episode. I felt like there was a lot that you get hit with up top. I think that this episode kind of reminded me of watching... This singular episode reminded me of watching the first Matrix movie. When it was done, I was like, I hope they don't do any more. And then, and I could have stopped and finished with episode 1 and be satisfied.
Okay. Even though you never got to see Jack and Hannah get together.
I'm just gonna Rule 34 Google that.
I'm sure that is out there. We haven't looked at that in
my brain. I'm sure
time,
that exists.
But yeah, that definitely exists. Yeah. Definitely. She was one button away from just being a Rule 34 to begin with. So there it goes. I'll recommend it too. I think it's a lot of fun. It's way more fun than you might think. It's actually a lot better than you might think from that title alone. The animation quality is pretty solid. The voice acting is pretty solid. The story's actually more mature than you would think something that Cadillacs and Dinosaurs would be. They play with a lot of pretty cool themes. It's heavy-handed because it was mid-90s. It is what it is, but it's still fun. I think they had a lot of fun with it, so I definitely recommend this one too. Cool. So that's it for Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, buddy. What do you have coming up over the next couple of weeks?
Guys, we're wrapping up the month of November pretty quickly, and I've got shows. That are happening live improv comedy in DC. You can find out more information witdc.org. And as always, I perform with... And as always, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis.
Fantastic. You can find me on Twitter at DrClawMD. On Twitter, you can also follow along with the hashtag Black Castle. That's all one word, Black Castle. That's currently the latest novel that I've released, and I'm releasing one chapter a day. So if you guys want to check it out one day at a time, just, on your lunch break, read a chapter pretty quick. Or if you want to wait till the weekend and just get caught up on the last, 7 chapters or so, that's up to you. You can follow along with the hashtag Black Castle. You can also check out davetrumbore.com for the full thing. Yeah, Sean, what you got?
It's just really interesting that you decided to go in a direction where you took Nathan Fillion as an African American.
Jeez. I really wish I'd made that as a mock-up. For just shaded his face, just like Black Castle.
Why? Oh no, don't do that.
Don't do that? Don't put Nathan Fillion in blackface?
No, please do not.
Coming to Fox, January 2017, Black Castle. He's back, and he's black. My story has nothing to do with that, but now I really want to work in an Easter egg somewhere, so I might go back and edit it. You can also find me on Collider.com and Nerdist.com, where I do less fun, professional stuff. As far as Saturday morning cartoons, you can find us over at our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also find us on Twitter at MorningTunes. Check out Sean's handiwork on our Instagram page. Keep the conversation going over on Facebook, and keep the subscriptions going over on YouTube as well. We really do appreciate the conversations you guys have with us each and every week. We're up well over 3,200 likes on Facebook, so we really do appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Keep sharing our stuff. Keep the conversations going. You can listen to our audio podcast for free each and every week through iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And if you want to reach out to us, drop us a line through SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. We also want to take this moment to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, because as you're listening to this episode, it should be coming up in just a couple of days. We've got one more episode coming in November before we move on to our December schedule. So, Sean, what do we have on the docket for the listeners out there?
Guys, we are going to get into the show Emergency Plus 4. If you loved all of the drama and suspense of the 1970 live-action show called Emergency that takes place with firefighters, paramedics, but you felt that you needed it in a dumbed-down kids version, hold on to your butts for Emergency Plus 4.
Just like anything else worth watching, it needs more teenagers. Jesus. Actually,
these kids are like...
What? Are they teenagers? I hope they're teenagers.
Yeah, they're like gypsy... It's like a gypsy EMS. I don't know. But
tune in next week for Gypsy EMS.
Gypsy EMS would have been a more apt title for this
show.
Followed
by Black Castle. Coming to Fox. January.
But the The exciting thing is that we actually do have a firefighter EMS friend of the show, previous guest from our Ren and Stimpy episode, Alex Capice. He will be joining us to talk shop about some of the things that happen in this show. So very exciting to hear from him about emergency situations in medicine.
We're looking forward to it, and you guys should tune in because it just might save your life.
What?
Until next time.
These are promises that our lawyers have told us not to make.
They said as long as I say just might as ahead of it, we're fine. They told me to stop saying teenagers in a weird voice, but I didn't listen. But when they say just might, it's fine.
And a final closing thing before we sign off for tonight. I just want to give a quick shout out and a thank you to the following people. Jack Connolly from Twitter. Thank you so much for your messages and your notes. Much appreciated, sir. Tim Ryan from Facebook. Thank you so much for the Charlie Brown video. That is Charlie Brown. It's a great pumpkin mashed up with Evil Dead. That was fantastic. And from Instagram, thank you to Buddha Foreskin. Don't know why you're following us, but thank you for commenting on a bunch of our stuff.
It's probably because I Googled that specific term a lot, so maybe it just kind of...
Guys, just think about that. Buddha Foreskin.
That's the image we'll leave you with from Saturday Morning Cartoons. Thanks for listening.
What do we do?
Have a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.